Hi Cancers, and welcome to your November 2020 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky here to talk to you about the energies coming in for your sign in the month of November. Welcome back, Cancers. I hope that you're feeling really wonderful. A very interesting month coming up for you, and it looks pretty spot on. Very transformative, very breaking of shackles, and a super strong opportunity for progress that I'm feeling for your sign in this month. As I was meditating on your energy, I felt that things are really going to resume normalcy as you see some of the things coming up this month. You're making progress, you're moving further, you're really identifying anything that's holding you unnecessarily. Anything that's making you feel entrapped, anything that's more difficult than it has to be is showing itself super clearly right now, okay? And it feels like for every Cancer, this Scorpio season, your fellow water sign, your fellow Claude sign as well, shows so clearly your attachments. And I do feel that attachments get a second look this month. And there's something about being strong enough to overcome an attachment or being able to just push through and complete without falling into squabbles or arguments or, false hopes or anything like that. It's basically about getting real, getting the truth, getting the facts, and starting to make a new plan, starting to see yourself differently as well. It feels like maybe there's a bit of a pressure from other people for you to see a situation differently than you are, to maybe bend the truth a little bit. I'm definitely sensing a bit of like gaslighting energy, a bit of mind game energy. All of the water signs this month are kind of dealing with that, coming to a head. No longer can those things be held under the surface. No longer can those things be hidden or out of view. It's like any type of gaslighting technique, any type of self-gaslighting technique, any type of need to be, right all the time, whether this is you or people around you, that's going to become really intolerable this month, okay? Basically, anything very unevolved or very egotistical is intolerable for Cancer. And I'm not saying that that's really even necessarily coming from you guys. I think that anybody in your life who has a big ego problem, because anybody with a big ego problem is going to be like very clear, okay? I believe it was Taurus's reading that I was talking about how certain egos are like Mount Everest this month. They get so big and they're at their largest point. And we do see that, when signs like Scorpio and Capricorn come together, both of those signs do deal with ego, and they're both in the sky right now very prominently. Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto direct in Capricorn. The sun and other personal planets in Scorpio. Also, having had a full moon in Taurus, we're really understanding the way that our drive and our motivation and our new wants and desires, how those things are manifesting into the real world, what real considerations we do have. And for Cancer, because your sign also deals with manifestation of the real, you're on the Cancer Capricorn axis. So Cancer also deals a little bit with ego, but it's a different type of ego. It's more of an emotional ego. It's more of an emotional drive or an emotional push than it is like physical. Okay, Cancers will strive less for a physical goal than they will an emotional goal or a status goal. Like, a state of stable emotional being is what Cancer is usually driven toward. And that might really finally be discovered by you this month. Like, okay, all I want is like emotional security. All I want is emotional stability. And you might have seen that unknowingly you were kind of going about that in a way that was very like emotionally chaotic. Like, I'm going to achieve emotional stability, but I know that it's going to take this amount of chaos to do it. Like, I know I'm going to have to like end this relationship. I know I'm going to have to, rebound in a really chaotic way to feel like I'm myself again. Anything along those lines should be super clear. Also, any addictive patterns. So the Devil and the Death card coming up says the end of an addiction or the end of some type of attachment. So being attached to the screen, being attached to YouTube or Facebook or social media, being attached to a person. Also, the dissolution of previous attachments might come up. So Mercury is retrograde in Scorpio in the beginning of the month. On November 3rd, it goes direct. And by the end of the month, we have Venus moving into Scorpio too. So we're communicating to ourselves the old things that we chose to end, or the old things that we chose to let go of. And that will come up. So any karma relating to past endings or past closures will come up in November. And it's probably in a roundabout way. So it's a very symbolic Scorpio season where symbolism becomes something manifested or material. So regardless of whether you're like dealing with people of the past or whether you're dealing with direct situations, I mean, it's really great to be as direct as possible. That's what I think for this month, because you can save yourself a lot of like karmic hassle by just facing things head on, or by just being direct. But if we can't be direct, or if there's still a lot of activated energy coming through indirectly, it really does create weird experiences, okay? And that is kind of what I'm seeing in y'all's spread. So for the Cancers who have, just finished up with things and are kind of ready to move on, I think it's just going to be easy. I think it's going to be like relaxing into this month and just appreciating the progress you've made. But for Cancers who have struggled to let go of the past, or who have been reckless with the past, I mean, we've all been reckless with the past. It's a weird caveat that I'm trying to understand energetically with this energy. So it's not about just having been reckless with the past. It's not about having past regrets. It's not about grudges either, but it's more about distance, like the distance of the mind, like being able to do something and then dissociate from it. That's really coming up for Cancer this month, because you're a withdrawing sign, you're a passive sign, so you can kind of make a mark or push out and then withdraw out of it really quick. That's one of the difficult things in Cancer's karmic evolution, is reaching out to something and claiming something and then pulling back and trying to erase that, or trying to deplete out of that energy. It's hard to explain, but basically you want to really know what you are signing up for right now. I mean, everybody, but especially Cancer with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. Like, what am I really taking on as a Cancer? What am I really preparing myself for? It could be really beautiful things for some Cancers. Like, some of you have figured out the best path. Some of you have figured out what you're really meant for. Coming into contact with new soul purpose is very potential for your sign. But as we come into contact with new soul purpose, it can be kind of a tough thing, because soul purpose is one of the reasons for living. And if you encounter a new soul purpose that's very adjacent to where you previously were, it can be hard in this very contextual year of 2020 to understand how to navigate that, and what we do and do not take with us. So I think there's a big test for Cancer in November about what they have and have not taken with them, and how they've walked out of certain paths or walked into new ones. But overall, I think that this is just one of those months, having the Devil and the Death card. It's never a super easy combination of energies, just because there are old addictions, old attachments, or old ways of being that do end in November for all of us. But Cancer seems to be really representing this archetype. And it just has to be as easy as possible. If you could look at it more as a 3 of Wands situation than a 9 of Wands or a 5 of Wands situation, you've got so much Wands in your reading this month. 2, 3, 5, and 9. 2, 3, 5, and 9. So there's a new creative cycle. There's a new motivational cycle. And you're going through the entire thing in November. So this looks like a lot of work, or this looks like a lot of energy coming out of Cancer in November. And you just want to make sure it's going to the right place. Are you sacrificing a lot of energy into a relationship, or into a friendship, or into a responsibility that can't handle that energy? It's like a nullifying of the energy. There seems to be something at a bit of a null. So, but through it all, you're getting strength. You're having a transformation. You're understanding more clearly about your own emotional motivations this November, which is the best gift, because as you understand your emotional motivations, you can then more consciously and more clearly channel that into the real world, and you don't have this same feeling of burnout, or this same feeling of being over energized or frenetic, or bipolar or, just like of different minds every day. You're ruled by the moon, so Cancer can be like on different sides of things often, especially like Sun in Cancer, Sun in the fourth house people. They really like have like different opinions of things really often. So you're called to get a little bit more strategic or a little bit more specific on how you feel and to maybe tie up some loose ends if you get the opportunity. So let's talk about the week to week Cancers. In the first week, you've got Knight of Cups rooted down by the Devil. So secrets becoming addictive or coldness becoming enjoyable. Okay, so there are a few different sides to a Cancer. There's a very warm, nurturing side to Cancer, a very kind and just maternal, nurturing energy. There's also a very barren, cold, and sometimes cruel side of Cancer that comes out too. All of the water signs have this, but especially Cancer and Scorpio. And I think that you've got to keep an eye on that in the first week. People who have a tendency to be cold, people who have a tendency to be cruel, can be more so with egos the size of Mount Everest and with Scorpio and Capricorn being like very doom and gloom oriented energy in November. It's going to quickly go out of fashion though. I feel that there are quite a few people who are like quite fashionably cold or quite fashionably mean. Okay, so definitely looking at rudeness and meanness. It's probably not like 99% of Cancers. It's not like coming from you guys, but observing this in people around you. Is there a streak of cruelty? Is there a streak of meanness? Is there a streak of secrecy? Is there a streak of what do I want to say? Fakeness? Is there something masky? Is this all like a mask? Is this all an act? Is this all because of some deep wound from the deep past? It feels like Cancers are perhaps really compensating. Not all Cancers. I've been talking a lot this year for Cancers about how wonderful it is and how great y'all are and how, we've had a lot of positive content for Cancers. And don't see this and feel like, oh no, it's like coming down on Cancer, because it's not. Again, this is just, for some of you, this is like people that you're coming into contact with. But I would say that there are some Cancers who really need to take like a look at who they're really becoming. Okay. And even me, like I have Sun in the fourth house. I'm a bit of a Cancer myself. So it's good to really check the identity in November. It's good to really take some time. It has nothing to do with physical appearance. It has nothing to do with physicality, although there is always a consolidation of physicality and energetic well-being. It has more to do with the disposition, with the posturing, with the face that we're trying to show. I would really, if I were a Cancer, really detach as much as I could, because your sign can actually do that quite well. I would detach as much as I could from inner dialogues that have to do with how am I coming off? How can I purposefully come off a certain way? How can I, appear to have this and have that effect, which will cause this? There's a very strong, and we're getting into manipulative territory here, Cancer. And it's just really good to know that this might be where we are, or where some of our loved ones are, or an energy that we might be engaging a little bit, where the projection or the appearance or the posture is trying to do much more than the appearance, the projection, or the posture can ever do. Okay, there has to be substance, is what I'm trying to say. It's really, okay, this is the thesis of this reading. Substance has to be focused by Cancer in November. The real choices, the real outcomes, what someone's made of, not what someone's style is, not how someone comes off. Again, those two things do work in tandem, but it feels like there's perhaps for some Cancers a bit too much focus in the effect or the affectation. Something is quite affected, I will say that. And it makes sense. I mean, this isn't, again, we're going to talk, and I'm going to make sure to get like the positive insights with all of this too, Cancer, but I just really have to advise you, knowing that Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto on your axis direct in your opposite sign is happening. I mean, this is like, we're talking like lifetime level karma coming up. We're talking about such an important period of time for you, these next 2 months. We could call it make or break. We could call it like the energy of creation and destruction. We could call it like a Shiva-esque chapter of life for Cancer, where you can really create or destroy anything. The thing is that things really change up at the end of December. When Jupiter and Saturn go into Aquarius, which is a quincunx to you, it gets way less moldable, malleable. It becomes way less adaptable with your own effort. You have a great capability in the month of November and all the way up to December 20th to really get into it, to really have control, to really make whatever moves, whatever choices you want. And I think for a lot of Cancers, there are a lot of things along those lines. And I just want to really clarify for you guys that it's not so much about the appearance. It's not so much about how things are wrapped up or how things are packaged. This is more substantive. Okay, this is more at the level of substance. What's inside? What is it really made up of? What really constitutes these goals or these motivations or these memories even? Okay, what is the substance of a memory? Really watch out for spinning people. Okay, trying to really define other people's identities for them, allocating yourself a certain motivation on account of what another person did or did not do. It's very spiderwebby, okay? And for some of us, we've already made our beds. We've already it's there. We are where we are, and that's where we'll be. That's where a lot of us are. But what I'm really trying to actually give you hope with in this reading, Cancer, is that it's not quite set in stone yet. It's not really been stamped off. It's not really done. It's not really wrapped up. And you've got until about December 20th to really wrap things up. And on the positive side of this, as you start to see things at a more intention-based level, and you start to probably make integrity like your central focus, I'm seeing a really beautiful opportunity for Cancer in November to really start focusing integrity if they haven't already. There are a lot of Cancers who started this back in January of this year, or just have this as a natural ingrained quality where integrity is always the focus. And those are the Cancers that are really thriving right now. Because whenever you've got more extreme energy like this, like the Devil and Death and Strength and Five of Wands and Two and Three of Wands, it's it can go really good or really tough. And I think that integrity really is the answer, okay? Prayer, well-wishing, not blaming yourself for what you didn't do wrong. Anything along those lines will really help. But as you start to focus integrity and as you start to get stronger in this way, there's such a constant day-by-day lightness that does start to overcome you, where you're just not held down by that old job. You're not just held down. I think I talked about this, maybe it was in Aquarius's reading. I can't remember who it was. But there is an opportunity in November to have this very set momentum. And just by focusing into integrity and just by focusing into higher purpose, you can fly right out of maybe 30 years of karmic debt, a relationship that will never do anything but hold you down. We get wings basically by December 20th, and how we use those will depend on how we've been here. So yes, that's what I'm feeling for the first week, essentially, Cancers of November and overall through November. I'm having a Mercury retrograde moment where I can't understand if I've already talked about the first week or not. But the last segment that I was talking about projections and appearances and all of that was really what I was feeling with the first week, with Knight of Cups and the Devil. It's what projection are we addicted to? What projection can we not get out of? How are we really feeling about our identity? It's an identity crisis a little bit. And me as a fourth house sun person, I can see that, I can see how the identity can become something that's who am I? What do I represent? So just keep pushing forward. Cancer, integrity is going to be the answer every time. So week number 2, you've got Strength rooted down by Two of Wands. Things already get better in the second week. I think that this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is really trying to fix up your identity. And I think that with it going direct November 3rd and really being direct by that second week, things are on a much better momentum. But it is a little tricky getting there, It's a little tricky getting from that first week, oh my gosh, who am I? What do I represent? What am I doing? to suddenly feeling so strong and like the world is in your hands. And that's what a good identity does for us. That's what being out of an identity crisis, evolving above an identity crisis does. Like, we forge our own destinies. We hold the keys to our own futures in our hands. There are no beasts in our lives that we can't tame. I want you guys to start getting confident, and I want you guys to start feeling it from like the deepest part of your person, that from like the deepest part of your soul, that I am not a subject of other people's forgings. I'm not a subject of other people's, stories. Like, I may play a part in it. I'm connecting with other people. I'm socializing with other people, but I'm not disposable within that. And the more necessary you make you to yourself, the more your identity will flourish and bloom. So make yourself necessary to yourself. This is a weird dialogue. I've never come to this, but it's a great blessing of a channeling coming through. The solution to an identity crisis is making you necessary to yourself. We actually can start to get a self-disposing attitude, a self-sabotaging attitude, and not realize it, and not realize that, okay, maybe I'm just kind of like selling myself out. Maybe I'm just kind of, not really standing up for myself in the face of, people who are much more, rigid. So the second week is going to teach you how to self-love, self-care, and that's what we're always talking about here in this community, is like self-love and self-care and overcoming self-sabotage and shadow work, and all of those things are meant to really solve identity crises, because I think that identity is one of the most valuable things. That's why there's like identity theft, which, speaking of which, Cancer, great time for identity insurance. Because yes, this could all be very emotional, but you got to watch out. Like, you never know. Watch out. Make sure that nobody's trying to like use your identity in like a fraudulent way or something. Like, I that's something that I've thought about this entire year, and I think I'll do it too. But it's like really good to have identity insurance. All kinds of insurance are good, like renter's insurance, identity insurance, the good car insurance, the good health insurance. I know, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But from what I understand, like, insurance is one of our best friends right now when the stakes feel so high. So anything that gives you that like protection of, identity protection, of liability protection in any way, any form of protection, like also for those of you who are like sexually active, like safe sex, any type of protection. Do nothing unprotected. Like, I'm talking like even like weird things that we don't even think about, like wearing improper footwear. Say you're a runner and you've had the same running shoes for like 2 years, and like you might actually be getting like stress fractures because your running shoes are too old, like your feet aren't protected from running. You got to think really holistically about this. Like, also having had the same key to the locks for a long time, have you shared the key to your house? And do other people have the key to your house and you don't know about it? Not having like the documents to like your business or to your property at your hand, like, and maybe somebody else has the documents. There's something about theft and stealing right now that we have to really watch out for. And it can be done at the self level, like we can actually kind of like steal a little bit from our own potential, because we're such a money-centric society and it's hard to survive without having money. So we get this really weird psychology about money and what we're willing to do to have it. So that all that stuff is coming up for you guys. And really, as you start to spiritually evolve and as you start to level up and elevate, you come out of that and money no longer rules your life. And it just appears, it just comes in. And I want you guys to not think so much about your value in such old ways. Maybe this could be just a very traditionalist consideration of value. And you guys have way more than you realize. But yeah, the second week, it's like you overcome all of that. Maybe now you're like insured. Maybe now you've got the great new running shoes. Maybe you have like the keys to a new house or the keys to a new car. Or, I don't know, the deed to a new house or something. Like, you have some really, really nice things coming in the second week. This could also, to me, look like new studying, new degree plans, new like academic purpose. The Two of Wands is about academia, and it's about studying the world and studying culture and studying other ways of thought, new philosophies. And with Strength, it's like maybe you're really getting a handle on your philosophy. Maybe you're doing away with self-defeating philosophies. Maybe you're doing away with a self-defeatist attitude. Beautiful. Third week, you have Death rooted down by Nine of Wands. So transforming out of burnout, no longer having to make things so difficult. no longer resenting progress, no longer resenting abundance, no longer resenting all that you have accumulated, despite some of it being mismatching, or not being able to process it all at the level of the identity. What an important transformation. The third week of November is I'm just feeling a little bit of a premonition. I'm feeling like there is like a bit of trickery in the third week of November. So if you guys saw the November general video, I talked about how there can be like mind games, and again, like egos are growing so much and people can be like rude or mean. You guys want to be prepared. And this is why insurance is good. This is why you want things to be covered, is because the first 3 weeks of November, but especially that third week of November, is a test. And any karma will probably catch up with us by the third week of November. Okay. So that's why it's good to be prepared and good to be protected. Also, it's not to create fear. Do not fear is the worst enemy always. I'm just really trying to give you guys some real advice here. If something is predicted to go wrong or predicted to have a bad turnout, you would probably see that in the third week. Also, if you get through the third week and things are quite normal, you're in for a big rebirth, and that's going to be the case, and no need to worry. And I think that this is such a blessing, Cancers. And why do I think this is a blessing? Because this is a confirmation time. This is a quality assurance time. This is a testing period. And anything that's a problem will come up, and that's good. We do not want problems looming in the void. Again, Cancer can be a sign that doesn't really get this sometimes, so I'm going to kind of really make it clear, really spell it out for you guys. Problems happening is not the problem. Having something turn out unexpectedly or poorly is not the problem. What is really the problem is how we create stories for ourselves like that, how we allow things to hang in the void. And what would be much worse is if this issue just hung in the void, waiting to just collapse at an unknown time. So what's great about November with the Scorpio and Capricorn sextile is that things naturally come up. Things naturally come into the perception. And if we've been, going about this rigorously since the beginning of the year, if you guys have been following my channel all year, I've been talking about getting things in order, getting the body healthy, getting like all the things, authorized and right and in the place that we want them to be as much as we can. Nobody can do anything completely perfectly. That's also important to know. Not one human can ever do something perfectly ever. Okay. It's not about perfectionism. It's about effort and really, trying to do our best for ourselves. And this is that time where that's reviewed, revised, and we then move forward and platform off of the foundation that we've built here. So third week, you transform out of burnout, you transform out of this long-running cycle, and there's a really, really great segment that you move into from then until middle December, where things really change up. So fourth week, you guys have 3 of Wands rooted down by 5 of Wands. Fire, fire, fire. So Sag, Aries, Leo energy coming in. It feels conflicted. It feels argumentative because, again, Cancer is going through a transformation. Cancer is also a sign that likes consistency, stability, and predictability. So when there's a sudden transformation or a sort of like unknown test in the wings, this can be very frustrating to Cancerian energy because you guys like to know what's happening, when it's happening, and why it's happening. So you're going to be sorting through personal relationships. You're going to be sorting through goals. You're going to be sorting through purpose, because all of that will feel a touch different after you go through the first 3 weeks of November. And just let it be beautiful, Cancer. That's all that I can advise with things like this. Like, maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it's not super easy, but it is beautiful that problems or issues, if they exist, do not just hang in the void. And I talked a little bit about that already, but that's what I've really learned in this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, is that sometimes the very worst thing is when things hang in the void and don't come to your attention and are problems but are not directly resolved. Because it's important to carry a philosophy that which needs to be resolved will come to our attention when it needs to be resolved. That's a wonderful high vibrational philosophy. But it's a high vibrational philosophy. And when we get into low vibration, sometimes we start putting things together that are not really sound and secure. And they also are not brought to our attention that they need to be changed or that there needs to be a different outcome. And then they just hang there. And that's not going to happen in November. If you get through November, everything's good. Everything's sound. Everything's fine. But it's really meant for you to decide also like what you want the grander, more broader, more holistic view of your life to be. So try to see it from that lens, Cancer. Try to not get too microcosmic with things. This is more of a macro month, okay? And it will be until the new year of 2021, actually. We're getting very macro with things, very much about the broader perspective, very much about the objective viewpoint, very much about, this is not so personal now. It has been all year up until Libra season. It was really personal. Now it's getting non-personal. So interesting energy. I think you guys are great. One of the most empowered signs of the zodiac. Do not fret about anything that messes up. I think that you're good. But I'm going to put together an extended for you guys on Patreon. If you haven't joined the Patreon page yet, I hope that you will. I'll link it below and in the center of the screen. I do a central theme and 2 supporting themes, and we'll go deeper into what any like hiccups might be, and we'll figure out how to resolve those here and now. Also, your likes, comments, and subscribes here on YouTube make my day. Be sure to hit that red subscribe button because we're getting so close to a great milestone, and turn on those bell notifications and comment below. Let me know how you enjoyed the reading. Is this happening for you? Do you have any advice for other Cancers going through this kind of like void, unknown time and like really fixing these identity issues? Do you have any advice? I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. And without further ado, Cancers, let's jump over to Patreon now for your extended reading. Much love. Enjoy your month. See you soon. Bye.